Hello, everyone, and welcome to my speech, Happy Eurovision, How the Eurovision Song Contest Contributes to Psychological Wellbeing. My name is Marie-Therese Stedri, and I am going to show you at first a quick overview on what I want to talk to you about in the next few minutes. So at first, I'd like to say some words about me and my work. Then I'm going to introduce the Schulfach Glück, so the school subject happiness to you. After that, I have the happiness cross framework, which I want to show to you because it's a quite interesting framework to apply on the Eurovision Song Contest. So this will be the next part of my little speech. And after that, I'm going to make a little conclusion and give you some future perspectives. So let's dive in. Some words about me. As I already said, my name is Marie-Therese Stedri. I'm a media educator, but I'm also a resilience coach for children and adolescents. It's a quite difficult word in English, resilience. Resilience coach for children and adolescents. I'm also a certified parent course facilitator in the program Strong Parents, Strong Children. And I am a trainer for the program which I brought with me today, the School Subject Happiness Program. But I think the most important information on this slide is that I'm a passionate Eurovision Song Contest fan. So let me tell you something about Schulfach Glück. Let me introduce the school subject happiness to you. What is this about? Schulfach Glück is an innovative educational concept aimed at promoting life skills, personal development, and the psychological well-being of students. And it was introduced in 2027 by Ernst Fritz Schubert in Heidelberg, and it's based on the principles of positive psychology. The goal of Schulfach Glück is to reduce stress and empower students to lead self-determined lives through self-reflection, a strength-based approach, and the development of social competencies. So it's a big program. It's a real interesting qualification, which I did in the last 2 years. And concerning the question on how it is implemented, we can say that Schulfach Glück, so the school subject happiness, is especially implemented in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And it's not yet a fixed school subject in every school, in every plan of students, but it's more a kind of elective subject within, or it's implemented within project-based learning formats. For example, project days or something like this. I hope this will change in the future because the school subject happiness should be a fixed part of children's and adolescents' school, daily school experience, but it's not yet there. It's more a kind of project-based learning format. But nevertheless, it's a real great program with a big variety of different methods and different goals and core elements, which I don't want to explain to you in detail in this speech because this would take too long, but maybe I can give you some more insights in the future. We will see. So for now, we are going to have a look at one special framework from the school subject happiness, and this special framework is called the Happiness Cross. The Happiness Cross framework is a kind of system with 2 axes and 4 areas. And now we are going to have a closer look on this. So the first line, the first thing which is important in the happiness cross framework is the question of how short or how long does it last, the feeling happy. So it's about duration. And it's also about intensity. How intense is the happiness feeling which I am talking about? And you can differentiate every part of this happiness cross into 2 different forms. So duration can be divided or differentiated in short term and long term. And intensity can be differentiated in low intensity and high intensity. And with that, you are getting 4 areas, which are 4 different ways of how you can experience happiness, how you can foster well-being, if you want to say it like this. And to get closer to the different areas, there are 4 questions which are important to make people think about in this method. So we start with the first area, which is concerned the short-term duration and the low intensity. There is the question, what are small things in your everyday life that bring you quick and easily accessible moments of happiness? For example, a cup of coffee or a walk in the forest, for example. The second area is about short-term duration and high intensity. So what are things in your life that give you a strong boost of happiness in the moment you experience them? For example, riding a roller coaster, or something like this. The third area is about long-term duration and low intensity. The leading question there is, what are things in your life that you would probably only realize make you happy if they were no longer there? And the last area, which is about long-term duration and high intensity, is led by the question, what are things in your life that create a strong sense of happiness over a longer period of time? And if you want to find headlines for the different areas, you can say that the yellow area with short-term duration and low intensity, these things can be called moments. There are moments of happiness, the cup of coffee or the walk in the forest. The pink area, so short-term duration and high intensity, the answers in this area might or are usually connected to experiences, riding a roller coaster, attending a concert, for example. These are experiences. Interesting is the blue area with a long-term duration and a low intensity, because there it's often about structures. So, for example, being healthy or owning your own car and being able to drive to every place you want to at any time you want to. These can be answers in the blue area, and it's usually about structures and material things you have in your life, which you might think they are normal, but if you don't have them anymore because you get sick or your car gets broken, then you realize, okay, these are actually things that make me happy, but I just don't realize it when they are there. So these are structures. And the green area, long-term duration and high intensity, there are many things which are connected to relationships and personal development. Taking this, we are heading forward to the question of how we can apply the happiness cross to the Eurovision Song Contest. And this is a very interesting question, which I thought about in preparation for this speech. And I've been formulating 4 questions to lead my thoughts, in order to find some personal examples which we can talk about in this speech, so that we have a kind of baseline. From there, we can go further. So let's start with the first question, short-term duration and low intensity. What are small things around the Eurovision Song Contest that give you a quick and easily accessible moment of happiness? I'm going to share my personal examples in a few slides, but first I want to show all 4 questions to you. The pink area, short-term and high intensity, is the question, what ESC-related experiences give you a strong, immediate boost of happiness? The blue area, long-term duration and low intensity, is about what ESC-related things would you probably only realize make you happy if they were no longer part of your life. And the green area, long-term duration and high intensity, is about what ESC-related things create a strong sense of happiness over a longer period of time. And now I'm going to show you some of my personal examples for the moments. So it's about the question, what are small things around the Eurovision Song Contest that give you a quick and easily accessible moments of happiness? Short-term and low intensity. And thinking about this question, I came up with the following answers. For me, this can be listening or watching your favorite ESC entry, listening to a new Eurovision-related podcast episode, watching a new reaction video on YouTube, or looking funny Eurovision memes at social media, but also turning up an ESC song in the car and singing along. Maybe also in my own made-up version of the lyrics, because they're not English or German. And also buying ESC merchandise is for me a small thing around the Eurovision Song Contest that gives me a quick and easily accessible moment of happiness. But there could be many more answers. These are just some examples of my personal perspective. So let's go ahead to the next area where it is about experiences. So what ESC-related experiences give you a strong, immediate boost of happiness? Short-term, high intensity. And I came up with the answers when your favorite song also gets an amazing staging and you see it for the first time, or being in the arena and experiencing a live ESC show. Watching the ESC at a public viewing with other fans is also always an experience for me with a strong and immediate boost of happiness. But also having an ESC watch party with close friends at home could be a kind of experience if they are the right people for this context. And it can also be special moments at the Euro Club. For example, if everyone sings along to a song you can also sing along to, or dancing an iconic routine as a group, which is also very, very cool to experience. If your own country gets 12 points, that's also a big experience, especially for me as a German. It's very great. And luckily, I had the opportunity to experience this in the last year at Basel when Arbor and Tinna got 12 points at the jury votes. And it was great at the public viewing, celebrating your own country with getting 12 points. But also, if your favorite entry gets 12 points, this might be a possible way to give you a strong immediate boost of happiness. Or if you have a nerdy ESC conversation with a like-minded people, or a like-minded guy or friend or something like this. And some other example, which I just experienced some days ago, if you're snagging last-minute tickets for the live show, which I managed to do, and that gave me a very strong and a very immediate boost of happiness, even if it was quite expensive. Okay, let's move on to the blue area, which is connected to the thing about structures. So what ESC-related things would you probably only realize make you happy if they were no longer part of your life? Long-term and low intensity. And there were quite interesting answers, I think, because the first thing that came to my mind was when this ESC takes place at all and isn't cancelled, for example, due to a pandemic. We all remember 2020, and it wasn't really great. Or having access to the technology to being able to follow the ESC at all, to watch it via TV or online streaming or other ways. And also the fact that all countries participate in the ESC and there are no boycotts or disqualifications in the best case. Yes. We already experienced it in the current season, and it's not a really good feeling if there are boycotts or if there are disqualifications, like we saw it in the last years. Also, if the ESC can be celebrated as a peaceful music event and you can feel safe at ESC events, so you don't have to be afraid of terror or something like this. So if it's just a peaceful, friendly, respectful celebration of music and people and diversity and everything we love about Eurovision, and feeling safe with this is for me a thing which I probably would only realize that it makes me happy if it's no longer there. So I think it's a quite appropriate answer at this point. And also wearing the ESC merchandise, which I bought in the Moments area, is now wearing these things can also make me happy, and I would probably only realize it if I wouldn't have it in my life. Another point which came to me was that a national selection instead of an internal selection takes place, because for me it's related to higher excitement and more participation for the fans and the viewers. And I think this is for me the better way to find your artist which is going to Eurovision for your own country. But this could also be just my opinion and is another topic for another speech. Another answer which came to me was the whole ESC national final and pre-party season, which is also a structure that fosters happiness of Eurovision fans, because so the season gets much longer than just the week of the semi-finals and the final. And there could be many more which I haven't thought about yet. And at last, the green area about relationships and personal development. So what ESC-related things create a strong sense of happiness over a longer period of time? So long-term and high-intensity things. And there I came up with the answers like connecting with other ESC fans and maybe even forming friendships, or when colleagues turn out to be ESC fans too, or if your own child enjoys ESC songs. In my case, my daughter last year really liked Espresso Macchiato by Tommy Cash, and it was a pleasure to watch her singing and dancing and having fun with this special song and special video. She also liked the techno or remixed version of ESC a little bit more. It was quite funny. And also integrating your ESC passion into your professional work, like I'm doing it, can be a long-term, high-intensity form of feeling happy. And I'm really grateful for this. But also volunteering around the ESC, for example, through blogs or fan communities, can create such feelings of long-term and high-intensity happiness. And if we take all these answers from me now to the happiness cross framework as it's meant to be, then it might look like this. And now there would be the interesting part to talk about, because there are some dynamics within the happiness cross which would be very interesting to have a look at, because they can move, for example, moments of happiness to experiences of happiness via mindfulness. So if you experience a moment like listening to your favorite entry in your car, and you experience it very mindful, very present, this can also become an experience with a high intensity. And also, for example, being in the arena and experiencing a live show can, if you don't really notice it because you are thinking about different things, or you are talking to different people, or you are somehow distracted from it, So it can be downgraded from an experience just to a moment of happiness. And it's also another dynamic between moments and structures, because if you are grateful for moments you experience and you are grateful for it, you can move it to a structure, you can upgrade it to a structure and make it more durable. So make it from short-term to long-term happiness through gratitude. For example, that the ESC takes place at all. Yeah? If you're grateful for this, then it's a structure. But if you don't really think about it, or if you have a sense of entitlement because you think it's absolutely normal and it couldn't be different, then it might change from a structure to a moment of happiness. But that's a really interesting foundation for discussion, which we can do in today's speech and in this year's conference, but maybe we are going to do this in the future. So let me jump to my last part of the speech, the conclusion and the future perspectives. So it's about public value of the ESC as a booster for well-being. My conclusion to this point is that the Eurovision Song Contest connects people across borders, creating a sense of belonging and we. So it's experiencing community. And that's a really, really important fact, or an really important aspect of psychological well-being, experiencing community. Another very important aspect of well-being is allowing and sharing emotions. For example, by cheering, celebrating, and feeling together, which is also strengthening emotional resonance. Also, making identity and diversity visible is the ESC a wonderful way to make it possible, because it's a space for self-expression, for representation and acceptance. And this is also very important for psychological well-being. Creating positive memories, also very important point, rituals and shared experiences. And these things, the rituals and shared experiences, have a lasting, stabilizing effect. So if you know that the ESC comes every year and every year again, you have something in your life you can hold on to if everything else around you is kind of chaotic or challenging in your life. And so the ESC might be a lasting, stabilizing effect for many people. Also experiencing self-efficacy in small ways by cheering along and voting and being a part of a larger story, creating the winner of the ESC, creating the shared memories, the shared stories by celebrating watch parties, by voting for your favorite entries, etc. It's about self-efficacy. You can decide and get involved in different ways. And that's also important for your psychological well-being. And for me as a media educator, another very important point is that you can experience media as a resource and not just as a source of pressure, because the ESC shows that media content can empower, it can connect, it can support well-being. It's not just creating pressure. It could create pressure too, especially if we look at social media and all the things that are going on there, not within the ESC bubble, but out of it. and yet media can be a resource, especially if you have the right community which is using the media for their sakes and for their joy to celebrate and to support each other. And it's also contributing to social cohesion. So shared cultural experiences like the Eurovision Song Contest fosters dialogue, understanding, and empathy. And these are skills, life skills, which are very, very important, especially if we think about in what kind of time we live, what quality the time has that we live in. nowadays. So, what are my future perspectives? I'm planning a workshop for the Eurovision for the Eurovisions conference in 2027. There should be a hands-on workshop on how the Eurovision Song Contest contributes to psychological well-being. I'm planning this workshop for next year because this year it wasn't possible for me to be with you in presence because I have other appointments. But my goal for the hands-on workshop in 2027 is to actively apply the happiness cross method in order to identify and collect further concrete aspects of how the ESC can foster happiness and enhance well-being. And what I'm planning for the future, so if I look ahead, I want to make these insights practically usable. For example, in coping with PED, post-Eurovision depression, with fans and artists. Yeah, we know that this is a real thing, and you can cope with it if you have a strong psychological well-being and resilience. So if we think about what are the things around the Eurovision Song Contest that foster our psychological well-being, we can also use these insights to cope with the post-Eurovision depression to make it less intense, in my opinion. But these are just ideas I have to think about and work it out myself in the future. But I also think it could be very interesting to differentiate and adapt the approach, for example, not just ESC fans, but also ESC artists. Ne? These are different contexts, and it might be very interesting to compare the answers in the happiness cross framework given by ESC fans and ESC artists, and then looking at it and getting insights and making them practically usable in the future. And the last thing which I am pursuing is that I want to further integrate the ESC into educational contexts. And for example, by developing creative project ideas based on its diverse facets. So there's much to do for me, there's much to do for us, and I hope my speech was inspiring for you. Maybe you are maybe you are thinking about your personal answers on the 4 questions of the happiness cross, and maybe you can manage to be a part in my hands-on workshop next year. I would be very happy about it. And for now, I want to say thank you for your attention. Have a nice week at Vienna. Have a nice conference. And if you want to get in touch with me or learn more about me and my work, then check out all my different channels and website and stuff like this. And for now, I'm going to say goodbye and wish all to you happy Eurovision.